Hey guys, what's up? How you doing? How's your day? I hope it's been good so far. This is Michael with Strange Shapes, and I've got another tutorial for you. Today we're doing the kinetic type thing, but with a little bit of a spin to it. We've got some morphing action, we've got some more glitch effects, we've got some colors, we've got it all, you guys. We've got it all in this one package. So strap in, let's get to it, have some fun, make something weird. All right, guys. So to start, we're going to come over here to new composition. We're going to label this one text 1. We're going to change this aspect ratio. We want the width to be around 3000 and the height to just be 300. Knock off a 0 there. It's going to be a pretty wide comp, but you'll see why in a little bit. We're keeping the frame rate at 30 and the duration at 10 seconds long. Once you've got all that, let's hit OK. Once we're in the layer, we're going to come down here to this panel, right click, go to new, create a new solid. I'm just going to label this one BG. We're going to hit OK. Everything else can stay the same. And then we're going to come up here to the type tool, click anywhere in the frame, spell out what you want to spell. Myself, I'm going to do kaleidoscope. Once you've got your word written out, let's align it, make sure it fits. Mine does not, so all you got to do is just kind of drag it down. It's a good idea to use a typeface that's kind of wide, kind of thick, and you want it to span as much of this frame as possible. I'll include this one below. This one is, it's Integral CF. I use it all the time. It's a good free font, so look out for it in the description below if you don't have it. Once you've got that word nice and snug in there, we're going to come back down to this panel, go to New, and make an adjustment layer. And I'm just going to call this one Effects. From here, I'm going to go to Effects and Presets and just add a CC Gridler effect. Old faithful. I'm going to change the horizontal scale to 25 and the tile size to 1 to get this cool little screen effect on there. And lastly, guys, we're going to hit that effect again, go back to effects and presets, just type in glow. We just want to add a little bit of a glow to it. I'm just going to bring the glow intensity down to 0.5 just to give it a little bit. And that's it for this layer. Now let's come back here to the project panel, click that text comp and hit Control or Command if you're on Mac, plus D, Control D. To duplicate it, it should automatically rename it to text 2, but if it doesn't, I would go ahead and just rename it that so we can stay organized. And then we're just going to open up that bad boy by double clicking on it. All right, and then for text 2, we're just going to select the text layer, double click it to change it, and change it to whatever you want. I'm going to do Android eyes. And again, if your words don't fit, I would go ahead and just make it nice and snug. Use the Align tab right here to align it if you need to. Worth noting that you do want your second text in here to be different from your first, just to kind of have that effect where the words are different underneath the kind of blob that you saw in the preview. Cool. Once we've got that, we're going to come over here to the New Composition button, hit that sucker, and make a new one. We're going to label this one Black Scroll Animation 1. Promise these names will make sense. There's a lot of compositions going on here, so I'm just keeping them organized. Everything else can stay the same. We're going to hit OK. And then we're just going to drag in the text 1 composition here. With that layer selected, I'm going to go to Effects and Presets, put in Motion Tile, because we want the Motion Tile effect. We're going to double click that guy to apply it. And then I'm going to come down here, make sure the timeline's at the beginning. Come up here, keyframe tile center where it is. I'm going to move the timeline all the way to the end and move tile center's X value to the right. Just a few times. I think I settled around 4,500. Yeah. Just something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but to get it to fit back in the frame. So that way, it now goes like that. Scrolls through the word. Awesome. And then we're going to come over here, select that layer again, go to Effects and Presets, and type in Shift Channels. Another old faithful effect if you watch my channel. And chances are if you do, you know what I'm gonna do next. So we're gonna hit that text 1 layer, hit Control or Command D 2 times. We're gonna duplicate it so that we have 3 of those layers. And then we're gonna adjust the shift channels effect. So the bottom layer, I'm gonna keep red where it is, but I'm gonna turn green full off and blue full off. Middle layer, I'm gonna turn off red, I'm gonna turn off blue, but keep green. Top layer, I'm gonna turn off red, I'm gonna turn off green, but keep blue. I'm gonna select all these guys, go to mode. If you don't see mode, you can hit this button down here to toggle it. So go ahead and bring up mode, and then we're gonna change that to screen. And then lastly, I'm gonna stagger each one of these. And you can do that by moving the timeline to the beginning, hitting the page down key to go forward a frame. I'm gonna do that twice. So page down, page down. I'm gonna move that middle layer over a little bit, and then page down, move that layer over from there. And now we get that cool kind of screen effect. Awesome. Lastly, I'm gonna just move the start of the timeline forward a little bit so that it starts once the colors have shifted. Because we did the shift channel thing, if we didn't do that, it would kind of cycle through colors real fast. We don't want it to do that. We just want it to look nice and clean from the beginning. So we're gonna start right there. Awesome, guys. Lastly, for this comp, we're gonna just go to new again, make another adjustment layer. I'm gonna label this one tint, and then we're gonna come back to effects and presets, type in tint, add it to that. But for now, we're just gonna turn that puppy off. We'll use that later. Cool. Next, we're gonna come back to this project timeline, hit that black scroll animation, Control or Command to duplicate it. I should say black scroll animation 2. We're gonna double click that guy to open it up. And then to make this easy so that we don't have to do it all from scratch, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this bottom layer, and then I'm gonna come up here to the project panel, select text 2, hold down Alt, and drag it on top of it. And that should replace the layer, but keep all the effects. Pretty cool. I'm going to do that for all of the text 1s. I'm going to convert them to text 2. So again, just click that, Alt, drag on top. Now all of your text 1s should be text 2, but the effects are still there. Pretty sick. We're going to do what we just did. So we're going to hit black scroll animation 2. We're going to hit Control or Command D to duplicate that guy. But we're going to rename this one white scroll animation 1. We're going to open that up again. And then we want the background on this one to change to white. So the best way to do that would be to click that tint adjustment layer. I'm just going to go up here, select the tint effect, hit Control C or Command C to copy it. And then I'm going to go into each one of these layers, all text 2, paste that tint layer, move it to the middle. We want it in between these effects, and hit swap colors. And then once you've done that once, you can just copy that effect, Control or Command C it, paste it in there, move it in the middle, paste it in the last one, move it to the middle. Now, your text should still have that kind of screen color glitch effect, but the background should be white, which is exactly what we want. Hell yeah. All right, guys, and since we like even numbers, let's just duplicate that white scroll animation in here one more time. Open that guy up, and now we have these two. We're going to do the same thing, so white scroll animation 1. All that we're going to do here is do what we did earlier. So I'm going to select this bottom layer, select text 1, Alt drag that on there. Do the same with the middle layer, Alt drag text 1, same with that one, Alt drag it. So now we should have a black background for text 1, black background for text 2, a white background for text 1, and a white background for text 2. Awesome. We are on track, you guys. All right, we're going to make another comp. I am addicted to compositions. We're going to label this one black and white scroll 1. This one, we actually get to make a normal size. I'm going to do 4K, which is 3840 by 2160. Now that is pretty heavy on the old system, so feel free to turn it down to 1440 or 1080, whatever you need. Everything else can stay the same though, so frame rate at 30, duration 10 seconds long, and then we're going to hit OK. All right, from here we're going to come up here to projects. We're going to drag in black scroll animation 1 and white scroll animation 1. And we're going to position these guys accordingly. So we want white scroll animation 1 to kind of face away from it. We want them to kind of mirror each other. So I'm just going to open up the rotation parameter here by hitting R. Change that to 180 degrees and then move that kind of just on top. You can kind of adjust it so that the bars align. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do for these is I'm going to scale them to about 70% because we want to fit a lot of them in the actual frame. Yeah, that looks cool. All right, I'm going to fit that here. So I'm going to select these guys. I'm going to move them down all the way till they're touching the bottom. And now this part might take a moment, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do and you can follow along. So I want to fill up this whole screen with these two effects, right? So all that you really need to do is just select the next effect. So we're doing black background, white background, black background, white background. And if I moved forward, you would actually be able to see the colors. And I just want to stagger them that way. So I'm just going to duplicate the black background when I need to, kind of make it so that it's touching the white, and then duplicate the white background when I need to. And I'm just going to stack these guys up a few times. So then we're going back to black. Doesn't have to be perfect. It'll still look good either way. Whoops. So I think probably, why do I keep doing that? I think probably about 7 times is good, and then you can pre-comp them to make your job much faster. So once you've got about 7 in there, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-C. I'm just going to label this Section 1. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see. And then once you've done that, you can just pre-comp it, duplicate that guy. So again, Control-D. And now it'll do all of the layers. Now you might have to put one on top like that. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. Yeah, cool. So you just kind of want it to look like that, fill up the whole screen. And now I'm just going to do it like this so that we fill up all of the negative space. This one's kind of weird because of this black bar, but if you ever need to, you can kind of move it behind some of the other layers and it should stop being difficult. So you're just going to keep clicking and dragging until all of those suckers look pretty good. And again, they may not be perfectly aligned. I think it's okay. It actually looks kind of cool. When I was exploring, I found that it looks kind of cool whenever there is kind of a messed up line because it looks more kind of like an actual screen. But all right, I think we did all right there. Cool. So that's our black and white scroll 1. We are once again going to duplicate another comp. I'm going to double click to open that one up. I am, however, going to delete these guys, and then I'm going to drag in black scroll animation 2 and white scroll animation 2. We're going to do the same thing. So click that top layer, hit the R key for rotation, change it to 180. I'm going to scale both these down 70, and then I'm going to reposition them appropriately. So I'll put this guy on top. align the bars a little bit. And then drag them both down all the way to the bottom. All right, guys, and then we're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit because you just saw me do it before, and I don't want to bore you as I do this again, but basically you're just going to take these and we're going to fill up the whole screen again. Godspeed. All right, folks. Once you got that filled out too, we're going to move on. We're getting close. We're going to come back to this new composition button. Make a new one. We're going to label it blur map. Everything else can stay the same. We're going to come up here and select the rectangle shape tool. If you don't see the rectangle on here, you can just hold your mouse button on there and you can see all the shapes in the land. But we're going to do rectangle tool. We're going to change the fill to white and make sure that stroke is not on. If it is on, you can just hit that stroke little word button and turn it off. Hit OK. And once you have your fill selected, all you have to do is come up here and Control or Command, double click that rectangle. It'll fill your entire frame. Now we want to deselect that layer, so you can just click off of it. And then we're going to come up here. Remember to hold down your mouse button, find the ellipse tool. We're going to go to fill. We're going to turn this guy black. And then we're just going to hold shift and drag down so we create a perfect circle. Size it as needed. We want it a little bit bigger. We want it to take up as much of the space as possible without clipping. So that's pretty close. That's pretty good. With that layer selected, we're going to come up here to effects and presets and type in Gaussian because we want Gaussian blur. We're going to come up here to blurriness, make that sucker 600, and then uncheck repeat edge pixels so that we have a nice blur right there. Cool. All right, guys, and finally, the moment you've been waiting for, our final composition. No more annoying new compositions. The last one, we are going to call it main because it's our main render comp. Everything else can stay the same. We're going to hit OK. Then we're going to drag in blur map. We're going to turn that off though because we don't actually need to see it. We're going to drag in black and white scroll 1. We're going to drag in black and white scroll 2. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to move forward in the frame a little bit so that those pesky shift channel colors don't interfere with our beautiful work. And then with the top layer that's selected, and this is the one that's going to show in the actual kind of morphing blob, we're going to add an effect. So make sure that that's selected, go back to effects and presets, and we're going to type in Mr. MR because we want Mr. Mercury. We're going to double click to apply that. And then we're going to change some of these parameters. So we're going to come up here to radius X, make it 3, radius Y, make it 3 as well. Velocity can stay the same. Birth rate's going to be 0.5. Longevity is going to be just uno. Gravity is going to be 0. Resistance, we're going to bump it up to 5. Extra, I'm going to bump that way up to 15. We're going to change the animation to fractal explosive, and then the blob birth size 1.36. The depth size can stay at 0.75. I'm going to open up that little light chevron, and we're going to change the light intensity to 25, the height to 97, just because I want the light to kind of focus here in the middle. You can see that light up a little bit. And everything else should be good. Then we're gonna keep that layer selected, come back to effects and presets, type in sharpen because we want to add the sharpen effect because it looks a little too blurry for my taste. And we're just gonna bump that way up to 150. Now this is optional. You can play with this as you want. You can have it sharper or less sharp, whatever works for you. But this is when I was messing with it, this is about what I found worked. And now we're looking pretty good so far, but we're just going to keep going, guys. It's just going to get even cooler. We're going to right click in this frame again, go to new, make a new adjustment layer. We're going to label this one optics because we like optics. Compensation. Go ahead and double click that to apply it. We're going to bump that field of view way up to 110. And that's actually kind of a cool effect too, but we want to reverse that lens distortion to get that effect. Pretty sick. Now this is already really close, but let's add a little more pizzazz to it. We're going to come back down here, right click in the frame, go to new, adjustment layer. I'm going to label this one blur. We're going to come back up here and type in camera lens because we want camera lens blur. I'm going to bump the blur radius up to about 12. And then down here under the blur map, we're going to go to layer, and instead of none, we're going to change it to our blur map. And now we have these nice blurry edges, but the focal point in the center is crisp and clean. And boom. That's it, folks. That's it. We did it. We did it. We worked so hard. Lastly, one thing you can do is if you go to new, make one more adjustment layer, go to hue and add in ye old hue saturation effect. You can also mess with the colors a little bit more, but I'm not going to do that now. Anyway, guys, that's about it. What I did is I kind of triggered in a switch for the colors. So if you go to tint, if you go back to the black scroll animation 1, go to tint, you can turn that on, and then the white scroll animation 1, turn that baby on. And now, if you go back to main, it's going to do this. So the background won't have color, but the middle will, so that'll be a cool effect. Saw some of that in the preview. But alternately, I made it easy to turn that off and turn it on the other layers. So yeah, you can also flip that effect. Yeah, so now your animation should look something like this. Pretty awesome, you guys. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's the effect. Thank you so much once more for watching and joining in, and I will see you guys on the flip flop. All right, guys, see you later.